In professional wrestling, very few characters transcend the squared circle. Some are remembered for championships, some for charisma, and some for being larger-than-life personalities. But then, there are those rare few who become something else entirely. Legends. Kane wasn't just another wrestler. He wasn't just another gimmick. He was fear personified. For over 2 decades, Kane was a nightmare in flesh, a monster who destroyed everyone in his path. But what makes his story so fascinating isn't just his dominance in the ring. It's how his character evolved over the years. From a mute horror movie villain, to a tortured human being, to a comedy partner, to corporate authority, and finally, a respected veteran. Kane experienced more transformations than perhaps any superstar in WWE history. This is the complete story of Kane. The Monster Unleashed, 1997 to 1998. It all began in October 1997. Bad Blood, the first ever Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. The Undertaker was seconds away from finishing Shawn Michaels when the lights suddenly went out. The arena fell silent. Then came the haunting sound of an organ, and out walked a nightmare. 7 feet tall, dressed in a red and black bodysuit, one arm exposed, his face completely hidden behind a terrifying mask. At his side was Paul Bearer, the man who had once managed The Undertaker. Bearer introduced him as the younger brother of The Undertaker, long presumed dead in a fire years ago. His name was Kane. He didn't wait for a microphone. He didn't cut a promo. He ripped the Hell in a Cell door clean off its hinges, stepped inside, and delivered a tombstone piledriver to The Undertaker. Just like that, WWE had created the perfect monster. From day one, Kane wasn't treated like a normal wrestler. He was treated like a supernatural force. He battled his brother in an Inferno match, a stipulation so wild that the ring was literally surrounded by flames. He threw Vader around like he was nothing, despite Vader being a giant in his own right. And within 1 year of debuting, Kane did the unthinkable. He defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin and became WWE Champion. That's not just a push, that's a statement. Kane was built to be unstoppable. He wasn't a monster, he was the monster. The Human Side, Kane and DX, 1998 to 1999. By late 1998, something unusual happened. WWE did something it rarely does with monsters. They gave Kane personality. Instead of keeping him a silent horror movie figure, they teamed him with X-Pac of D-Generation X. On paper, it made no sense. Kane was a 7-foot demon, while X-Pac was a rebellious lightweight known for his quick offense. But together, they clicked. Fans suddenly saw Kane in a new light. He wore inverted red and black gear. He spoke through a mechanical voice box, the kind you'd associate with someone who had survived a burn injury. And, in one of the most surprising twists, he fell in love with Tori. For the first time, Kane wasn't just a monster. He was human. He showed loyalty, affection, even vulnerability. He won his first tag team gold with X-Pac. Audiences sympathized with him. They laughed with him, not at him. They began to care about Kane in ways that went beyond fear. But this is WWE. Happiness doesn't last. X-Pac turned on him. Tori betrayed him. And Kane snapped. He chokeslammed both of them, erasing the fragile humanity he had shown. The monster had been reawakened. The Ruthless Machine, 2000 to 2002. By the year 2000, Kane evolved once again. His gear changed into the iconic 2-strap red and black vest, a look many fans still consider his most legendary attire. This version of Kane wasn't about romance, betrayal, or comedy. He was pure destruction. In the 2001 Royal Rumble, he eliminated a record-setting 11 superstars, a mark that stood for over a decade. He lasted nearly an hour, dominating the entire match before finally being eliminated by Stone Cold Steve Austin. He feuded with the very best, Triple H, Kurt Angle, The Rock, and always held his own. He added the Intercontinental Championship to his growing list of accomplishments. Perhaps most famously, he reunited with his brother to form the Brothers of Destruction. Together, Kane and The Undertaker terrorized the tag team division. They captured titles, destroyed opponents, and created moments that fans still talk about today. This was Kane at his absolute peak as a monster. Silent, destructive, terrifying. When the fire shot from the ring posts, you felt it. He didn't need words. His presence alone said it all. Half-masked comedy Kane, 2002 to 2003. But by 2002, WWE began steering Kane in a different direction. Instead of silent destruction, Kane started cutting more promos. He teamed with Rob Van Dam. He appeared in backstage comedy segments. One night, he'd destroy an opponent in the ring. 10 minutes later, he'd be backstage in a lighthearted sketch. It wasn't necessarily bad. It kept Kane relevant in a changing WWE environment, but the mystique was fading. The fear was gone. Fans liked him, but they weren't scared of him anymore. This version of Kane was inconsistent. Entertaining, yes, but not terrifying. And that set the stage for one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. Unmasked Kane, 2003 to 2005, June 23, 2003, Madison Square Garden. Kane faced Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. He lost the match. And then, he removed the mask. The crowd gasped. For years, Kane's entire identity was tied to hiding his face, to the trauma of his supposed disfigurement. But now, fans saw him unmasked for the very first time. Half-shaved head, black makeup, wild, crazed eyes. And just like that, Kane transformed into something far more disturbing. He wasn't supernatural anymore. He wasn't a slasher villain. He was a deranged man, unpredictable and violent. Unmasked Kane was chaos. He set Jim Ross on fire. He electrocuted Shane McMahon's testicles. He tombstoned Linda McMahon on the entrance stage. And he laughed through all of it. Some fans initially resisted the change, but over time, it became clear. Kane was terrifying in a new way. He was human, and that made him more dangerous than ever. The Return of the Mask, 2011 to 2012. After years of wrestling unmasked, Kane disappeared from WWE television in 2011. When he returned, it was with vignettes teasing the resurrection of his mask. And when the pyro hit, Kane re-emerged with a new Predator-style mask, black and red gear, and a new mission. He feuded with John Cena, telling him to embrace the hate. He cut philosophical promos, sounding more like a cult leader than a monster. At first, fans were excited. The return of the mask felt like a return of the demon. But the execution didn't click. The feud with Cena fell flat. The new mask was eventually abandoned. It wasn't a bad run, but it wasn't the legendary return many had hoped for. Team Hell No, 2012 to 2014. When the darker return failed to connect, WWE took Kane in the opposite direction once again. They paired him with Daniel Bryan, who was in the middle of his Yes movement. The team was called Team Hell No. What followed was some of the funniest WWE television in years. Kane and Bryan went to anger management therapy together. They were forced to hug it out in the middle of the ring. Kane deadpanned about his crimes, like setting his own parents on fire, while Bryan screamed in frustration. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Fans loved it. Kane and Bryan had incredible chemistry as both partners and rivals. They won the tag team championships and gave fans a version of Kane that was surprisingly likable, without damaging his legacy as a monster. Corporate Kane, 2014 to 2016, then came another unexpected twist. Kane handed his mask to Stephanie McMahon, put on a suit, and became Corporate Kane, the director of operations for the Authority. In the ring, Corporate Kane was less of a monster, but as a character, he was strangely entertaining. His dry humor, his straight-man role against over-the-top villains like Seth Rollins, and his constant power struggles added something new to his career. It wasn't the Kane of 1997. It wasn't the monster who tore doors off cages, but it was yet another successful reinvention, proof of Glenn Jacobs' incredible range as a performer. Veteran Demon Kane, 2016 to 2020. The final chapter of Kane's in-ring career wasn't about championships or dominance. It was about legacy. Every now and then, the pyro would hit, the fire would explode from the ring posts, and Kane would return, not as a full-time wrestler, but as a legend. He put over new stars like Braun Strowman and The Fiend. He reunited with The Undertaker to face Triple H and Shawn Michaels in Saudi Arabia, though that match was plagued with botches and injuries, including Kane's mask falling off mid-match. By this point, Kane was more nostalgia than threat, but fans still felt the fire every time he appeared. The character had lasted over 2 decades, and outside of WWE, Glenn Jacobs had become the real-life mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. The monster had become a politician. It was a bizarre, yet fitting final twist. Kane's career is unlike any other. From the night he debuted in 1997 to his final nostalgic appearances, he transformed more times than perhaps any wrestler in history. He was the monster, the brother, the machine, the comedy partner, the corporate authority, and finally, the veteran demon who commanded respect whenever the flames shot from the ring posts. Very few characters could survive so many reinventions without losing their aura. But Kane did. And that's why, when fans hear that organ music and see the fire erupt, they'll always remember. Kane wasn't just a wrestler. He was a legend.